What is up, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of Too Pop to Handle. I'm your host, Andrew Nukwatola, your pop culture best friend. And as always, I hope you guys are having a fabulous week. I hope everybody had a very Merry Christmas, a very happy holiday season just in general, whatever you celebrate, whether I hope it was happy, healthy, merry, jolly, all of the above, all of the things. I hope everybody is enjoying this current rot week that we are in, the week between Christmas and New Year, just whatever day of the week it is, whatever time of day it is, whatever date it is. Like, nobody knows anything going on this week. I feel like this week it's simply made for us to exist. Like, we don't need to go above and beyond. We are just doing the bare minimum. And honestly, after the other 51 weeks of 2025 that we have all gone through as a collective, us, there's been a lot of bullshit going on in 2025. And I just feel like this last week, the least that we all can do and the least that we deserve is to do the bare minimum. So this is exactly what I am doing. I hope you guys are all enjoying some time to yourself as well. And I am so honored that you were spending this rot week listening or watching my podcast. Thank you so much for tuning in. That being said, if you are listening to this on the date that I release it, happy New Year's Eve. We have made it to the final day of 2025, which is wild. I feel like this year went by in the blink of an eye, but also at the same time, I was making my outline for this week's episode, which, spoiler, we're doing a recap of the entire year. And I was like, holy fuck, what do you mean that was this year? Like, this was one of those years where I was like, how did all of this happen in one year? And also, how is it already 2026? It's very, very mind fuck. Lots of mind fuckery going on with this year. But New Year's Eve is my favorite day of the year. It is my favorite holiday. So I am so honored that you took the time out of your day to spend it with me. If you're listening to this in 2026, Happy New Year. I'm so excited for all of the things that I have up my sleeve for the new year and just to bring the podcast into its third year of the show, which is I guess we're in the third year of our show. So we'll be going into our fourth later this year, but we have some time for that. But it's just very exciting to start a new year. Like I said, it is my favorite holiday. And I feel like New Year's Eve gets a bad rep. I feel like everyone's always like, oh, everyone's, it's new year, new me bullshit. And no one's really, everyone makes these resolutions that nobody can keep. And it's like, yes, all of that is true. Of course, everyone makes a resolution and whether you stick to it or not is your own prerogative. I feel like there's too much weight on them anyway. But I just feel like at its core, like New Year's Eve is a reason for really anybody to celebrate. Of course, there's other cultures that celebrate New Year's Eve other times throughout the year. Of course, we have like Rosh Hashanah, the Chinese New Year. We have so many other cultures that do celebrate New Year's at a different time than December 31st into January 1st. But on like a global stance, like anybody can celebrate and acknowledge the fact that there is a new year starting at midnight on December 31st or January 1st, however you want to spin it. Like, it is just, I feel like it's one of the only holidays and one of the only days of the year where no matter who you are, where you are, your culture, your sexuality, your religion, your race, your gender, your whatever the fuck, you can celebrate New Year's Eve and just like, we can all collectively kick off this new year together. And maybe that's cheesy of me, maybe it's like whatever, but I love New Year's Eve. And I, for one, am so excited to ring in a new year with you guys because like I said, 2025 was fucking crazy. With that, like I said, we are doing my 2025 pop culture recap. And if this is your first episode with us, hello, welcome. Thank you for joining on. I'm so happy to have you as part of the Too Pop to Handle family. We end every single podcast episode here with a yes and a mess of the week. So every week I give you guys one thing I am loving and one thing I am not loving. And that's how we end every single episode. So it only feels right to end the year by doing my yeses and my messes of 2025. I did this last year as well, and I really like the format. So we're going to keep it as we're going. And it feels like traditional Too Pop to Handle culture to do things from a yes standpoint and a mess standpoint. So I went through and I listed out loosely chronologically. Some of them are in chronological and then some of them kind of branch into, you'll see like as I go through where it makes sense, but mostly chronological, all of the things I loved in pop culture in 2025 and all of the things that I did not love in pop culture in 2025. And we always kick things off on a high note. Excuse me, I'm so excited to get into these. I'm stuttering over my words. We always kick things off on a high note. So we're going to go ahead and start with my yeses and kicking it off incredibly strong with my 2025 pop culture year in review is the Golden Globes in 2025. I feel like this was like the first big stamp in the pop culture passport of 2025, really of every year. But this year's Golden Globes was so special because it was Nikki Glazer's first time hosting and she just killed it. Like, she started this year with the bar so incredibly high for any other award show host, and like rightfully so, because you got a big job to do. And I just feel like Nikki fully took this role on, hit it so hard and killed it to the point where like she is now hosting the 2026 Golden Globes, and like I'm sure she'll do great at those that are coming up in just a few weeks, January 11th. And then I wouldn't be surprised if they brought her back for 2027 and like this just continues going on, because she seriously kicked us off on such a high note in 2025. And knowing how the rest of the year turned out, we needed that win at the beginning of the year. So that was absolutely such a literally golden Globe way to start the year. And I am so excited for her to host this again in 2026. Moving on to the next moment of the year that was just too pop to handle that I could not get enough of was The Traitors. Now, I love The Traitors. We cover it every time, whenever it's on the show, on the podcast. And this season, I just feel like was such a moment in culture. Everybody was watching. Everybody was talking about it. It was all over. It introduced us to Dylan Efron. I mean, we knew Dylan, but we didn't know Dylan. Like, now he's America's sweetheart. And it all stems back to The Traitors. Of course, we also had Gabby Windey, who I knew her prior, and so many people did prior, but The Traitors really like catapulted her into a next level of her career. And I feel like her podcast took off. She had so many other opportunities. She was at the VMAs hosting the digital red carpet, and she just had so many opportunities came her way after The Traitors. And I feel like this season really just like opened so many doors for so many people. Of course, we had Bob the Drag Queen, Chrishell, Dolores, like it was just like a stacked cast. And I just felt like after the season before that, we weren't sure if it was going to pack the same punch as it did. And this season really just came in and like killed it for The Traitors. I loved it. And I am so excited for the new season to come out in just a few weeks. Actually, comes out next week, which is so exciting. And the next moment of the year that we're going to chat about is the 2025 Grammys, because it was like one of the best Grammys we've had in years. We didn't see one clean sweep. Everybody got a little bit of everything, which I prefer. It's like whenever we see the Academy just award one person every single award, it's boring. Like, it's not fun to watch somebody win. And I'm not using her name to like drag her, but like watching Billie Eilish win every single award, it's like, okay, cool. Like there's other music than this. And this is not a drag to Billie at all. It's just like, that's the most recent sweep that I can think of. This year's Grammys just felt like it was a celebration of everybody. Everybody got a little bit of something. We had, I think it was the first time in Grammys history where all four of the big four categories were won by women, which is so exciting. And it just felt like everybody got a little bit of something. It was very Mean Girls, Katie breaking up the crown and giving it to everybody at the Spring Fling dance. Like, it was just such a celebratory night for so many different people. We had, of course, Chapel winning Best New Artist. Sabrina took home 3 awards, I believe. Charlie won. The performances were next level. I mean, Doechii alone was just, that Grammy performance was just unbelievable from start to finish. Like, she was up there giving a masterclass in how to do a proper award show performance, and it was fucking phenomenal. Sabrina killed it with the staircase and the tribute to Goldie Hawn. Like, it was just such a good performance for everybody. Chapel, The Weeknd coming out, which was crazy because I thought The Weeknd swore off the Grammys years ago, but him coming back and like having a return there was crazy. Then we saw Charli XCX performance, which like I never thought I would see Charli performing on the Grammy stage. It was just such a celebratory night for so many different people, and I just loved this show. But of course, the big moment from the 2025 Grammys is Beyonce winning Album of the Year finally. Like, it has been well overdue for the Academy to give Beyonce this award. Of course, she is the most nominated artist in history, the most decorated artist in history, but like, you want to win the big one. Album of the Year is the one that everybody wants at the end of the night. And for her to win it on an album as monumental as Cowboy Carter, that is so deeply rooted in who she is and like born out of a experience where she was kind of not welcomed during an award show. It's just, I feel like it was the exact album where she deserved to win it if she didn't win it from any other ones. Like, I am happy that Cowboy Carter is the one that gives her this first win because it just feels so deserved. And on the topic of Beyonce, like I said, though this episode is mainly chronological, I am going to kind of just like pop into different people as we go on. So just talking about Beyonce in 2025, she had such a standout year, let alone finally winning Album of the Year, which is just fucking 20 years overdue. She also had the Cowboy Carter tour, which was the highest grossing tour of the year. And I mean, just so many incredible moments from that tour, from bringing out Miley in Paris, reuniting Destiny's Child in Vegas, all these surprise performances with Jay-Z. Like, it was just such a moment, I feel like, this summer where everybody was really tapped into it. It was similar with Renaissance. It was one of those tours where like everybody was tapped in. It was just exciting to watch it happen, and like seeing somebody to the level that is Beyonce. Doing shows at the level that she does is just something that I'll never get tired of seeing. And like, I'm so honored that like we are alive at the same time as Beyonce. We also got to see her launch Sacred and Ulta, which was so exciting. It was like one of the biggest deals that Ulta ever did. So just very exciting to see all the things that Beyonce continues to do so many years into her career is very exciting. And speaking of people who had very exciting nights at the Grammys and just exciting years in general, Lady Gaga, let us not forget that Abracadabra did debut during the 2025 Grammys with that MasterCard performance commercial. It was just like, I feel like we knew Mayhem was coming. We knew Gaga was giving us an pop album in 2025. She had been teasing it. We had gotten Disease already. And we were kind of getting these little like snippets of what we were going to get. These little like peeks into what she was giving us in 2025. But Grammys night was really like the catapult into Mayhem and giving us an idea of like, she's back to, doing these weird words again. And she's saying things that don't make sense. And she's getting these satanic allegations. Like we were so back with Abracadabra, and it just like continue to snowball us as the year went on with Mayhem. We also got to see Gaga headline Coachella, which was so exciting. And now, of course, she's headlined Coachella before, but this was so exciting because it was announced that Gaga was headlining Coachella. The first time she was announced after the fact because Beyonce had to pull out because she was pregnant and Gaga filled in. It was still an incredible performance, but this just felt like the right time for Gaga to do it. And you can tell, even in the way that she announced it, saying like, I've dreamed of creating a dance party in the desert for all these years, and now it's my time to do it the way that I want to. It really seemed like she had the sky was the limit for Gaga Coachella, and it was incredible, which then later brings us to the Mayhem Ball, which was such a huge moment as well. I feel like it really was. People were going nuts over this tour. I mean, it was impossible to get tickets to. I didn't get to see it this year. I am seeing it in 2026, thank God. But even like trying to get tickets for this tour was just impossible. And it was just creating such buzz online. It was such an exciting tour, and the production, the vocals, the fun things just at the end with like the surprise song, and she dances on the stage with all of her dancers. Just a really exciting time in culture, and I just loved seeing this year for Gaga. Like it was such an exciting time, and I can't wait to see what she brings into 2026 as well. Between Mayhem Ball continuing, of course, she has the Grammys, which she's nominated for, I think like 6 times. I could be wrong, but tons of Grammy nominations. The Mayhem Ball is continuing. I'm just very excited to see where 2026 continues to take us with the Mayhem Ball. Kind of backtracking a little bit back to Coachella. What a great year for Coachella as well. Like I was saying on my recap episode of Coachella, like the whole weekend, I was like, it just feels like Coachella is fun again. It kind of lost its fun edge for a while, and it just became like a breeding ground for influencers to go to, which I'm pro influencer. I'm pro content creator. Go get your shot. Go do your thing. I mean, I'm literally talking to a microphone in my living room into a Sony camera right now. Like obviously I am very pro that, whatever you want to call it. However, it just felt like Coachella became who's wearing what, who's seen there. And it wasn't about the music anymore, which at its core, Coachella is a music festival. And the last year or two, it just felt like we're getting back to this like true core meaning of Coachella and this festival. And it felt fun again. I mean, we had Megan Thee Stallion performing. She brought out Ciara, and like just like a huge moment there. We saw Charlie XCX perform, and she brought out Troy and Addison and Lorde. And I just feel like it was such like a huge moment, similar to seeing Charlie at the Grammy stage, like seeing Charlie perform at Coachella. She wasn't headlining, but she was like right underneath, I think she was like second line. Just like knowing Charlie and like the way that like Brat wasn't really like, Brat isn't, I say it so many times, but like Brat wasn't an album that like was supposed to be loved by the masses. It was a little bit against the grain of like what people typically tune into, and like just seeing Charlie have this renaissance with Brad, and like I just knowing, I'm not going to go into a whole history of Charlie XCX, but like it was just so exciting to see her like on the Coachella stage on such a huge moment, and like it was just her up there with some screens. That was it, and she so incredibly, and all the guests and everything. It was just killer year for Coachella, and just killer year for Charlie. Like I was saying, like she had the Brat tour, she got married this year, so many movie projects she has coming up in 2026 that she was working on in 2025. I just feel like Charlie has really done a really good job at kind of like riding the wave of Brat into 2025, and now she's even carrying it into 2026 without beating a dead horse. And I'm really excited to see what she does in 2026 with all these movie projects, and The Moment comes out so soon, and Wuthering Heights, and there's just so much to look forward to with Charlie off of just music stuff in 2026. And I just feel like she's doing it really in her own way. And I'm really excited to see what 2026 has in store for her because, like I said, she really rode the wave of 2024 into 2025 and is continuing into 2026. Another person who kind of did the exact same thing and just rode that 2024 hype right into 2025 is Doechii. She was booked and busy this year. She was walking at fashion shows. Like I said, doing her Grammy performance. Like that performance alone, that's a highlight of 2025. Like just everything she did this year just felt so perfect for her. She really stayed true to who she is and, what she wants and kind of she's in full control of her career, so it seems, and I'm just really excited to see how she continues to ride this wave. A really standout year for Doechii for just kind of like I said, watering the seeds that she planted in 2024 and letting them grow. It was just a fabulous year for Doechii as well. On that same topic, Chappell Roan had a great year, another Grammy winner, Grammy performer. She finally released The Subway, which we had waited over a year for, but we finally got it. She gave us that mini tour that she did, a few of those shows popping up around. Like, I just feel like, again, we're seeing a lot of people kind of, instead of hopping from era to era now, they're letting it kind of ride out a little bit longer, and it really lets us marinate in this music a little bit more. We're not seeing Doechii, Chappell, and Charli releasing an album after album after album after album. They're like releasing a crazy solid body of work. I mean, Rise and Fall of Midwest Princess, Brat, Alligator Bites Never Heal. These are like incredible bodies of work. And I'm so happy to see that these people aren't just throwing them to the side and trying to release the next album to like stay relevant. They're really like letting it kind of breathe a little bit, and they're bringing this era along with them for a little bit longer to really make sure they're really like getting the most out of this era. I just feel like they're doing a killer job at not just like moving on to the next project, which is fine if you're so inspired to create a new album so quick or whatever, like totally fine as well. But like, it's nice to see when we aren't just like tossing a project to the side and like moving on to the next thing because it seems like old news. It's like, no, let's water these seeds and like continue to let it grow. And seeing the way like Charli, Chappell, Doechii, all these people really did let that happen was fabulous this year. Moving into some other moments of the year that were too pop to handle. I mean, The White Lotus this year was major. Parker Posey, The Blender, the two brothers having their little thing. Like, this show was making waves this year, as it always does. I feel like The White Lotus is one of those shows that, like, regardless of the cast, regardless of the plot, the location, like, people are going to talk about it whether they like it or not, and that is what makes a great show. I mean, a lot of people didn't love this season of The White Lotus. I loved it, but like, a lot of people didn't love it, but they were still talking about it, and it was getting great ratings, and like, it was still a huge moment. It's getting tons of nominations at all these award shows, so like, clearly they did something right, and I just feel like The White Lotus was a massive moment for 2025. Another massive moment of 2025 was Kendrick and SZA's Super Bowl halftime show. I mean, Kendrick Lamar calling Drake a pedophile on the largest stage in the world. We will never forget where we were when that happened. It was kind of incredible. Moving on, another moment of this year that I absolutely loved was SNL 50. Just seeing a show as iconic as SNL hit its 50th season. And like, I feel like SNL, maybe right now is going into a little bit of a lull with like this season with like Bowen just left. We had Heidi leave. We had Ego leave. There's a lot of weird things shifting, but up until season 50, like it was really chugging along like full steam ahead, and like watching it get celebrated while it was in a really huge peak. SNL ebbs and flows. That's anything does. When you're on for 50 seasons, like not every season's going to be great. Not every cast or era is going to be great, but I just feel like the last few seasons of SNL have been really big and made waves again, like the way that it used to when like Tina and Amy and all of those people were on. So like seeing this cast kind of being ushered into the SNL 50 cast and like celebrating it at another peak of what SNL is was so exciting. And I mean, everybody was there. Sabrina, Miley, Pedro Pascal, Bad Bunny. Like, it was just like a knockout way to celebrate this show, and I think they did a fantastic job. Speaking of people at SNL 50 and people who just had great years as well, Pedro Pascal, I mean, give me any reason to talk about this man and I will, but he really did have a standout 2025. I mean, he had 3 major movies come out this year. The Last of Us Season 2 came out, which was huge. I just feel like Pedro Pascal had a major year between all of the projects he was working on, and I mean, I love living in a world where Pedro Pascal is always in the spotlight, and I am not going to complain about any reason to chat about him. Another man that I love to see always in the spotlight and will never get tired of talking about, Bad Bunny, who I mean, he really had like a standout of all standout year. I mean, the success of his this album, the Calvin Klein photo shoot. We all remember where we were when that dropped. The giant billboard of said Calvin Klein shoot that was on Lafayette here in New York, down in Soho. Major. He was in 2 movies. He did his tour. He started his residency, and he really was like making such waves because of the way that he approached it. I mean, we all remember when he was like, I'm not touring the US because it's not safe for my fans, which I think is such an admirable thing to do, and created a lot of mix up and controversy online. And he just had a really stand out 2025. And that is a man who is standing on business. And I cannot wait for his Super Bowl. It's going to be incredible. Cannot wait for that. The next moment of the year that I could not get enough of was Ariana Grande and Cynthia Erivo opening the Oscars. I mean, Ariana Grande, Cynthia Erivo alone just had standout years, which we'll get into in just a second. But that moment of them opening the Oscars together with Ariana performing Somewhere Over the Rainbow, and then Cynthia performing Home, and then performing Defying Gravity, and just like kicking off the show on the highest of highs was so monumental. And I love the way that they paid tribute to The Wizard of Oz and to The Wiz and Wicked all, and just tying everything together. It was so incredibly special. And like I said, Ariana, Cynthia, Wicked, the whole cast, they really had an incredible year. Just looking at Ariana, I mean, starting the year dropping Eternal Sunshine Deluxe, which I don't think any of us saw coming. Like, that was so out of left field. Eternal Sunshine as a whole in 2024 came out of left field. So for her to then give us more in 2025 was so exciting. And just, it wasn't even just the album. We got the entire short film, which I thought was so brilliantly done, and I loved it. We got the tour announcement, which another thing that I just like never saw coming for Ariana Grande again. I never thought she would ever release tour dates in the capacity in which she did. And I mean, the Ticketmaster war was crazy. We will be there. I will be in the room for the Eternal Sunshine tour, and I cannot wait. But even just like the fact that she's going on tour in 2026 is so crazy. And just the camaraderie that it created by her just announcing it. Just, I'm so excited to see how crazy it's going to be in 2026 and how excited everybody is for this tour. I cannot wait. She also had a standout night at the VMAs. I mean, announcing Mariah as the Vanguard, winning Video of the Year, all of the moments of her in the crowd. Like, it was Ariana's year of the VMAs this year, and it was just so special and so exciting to see her just like be celebrated in that light. And just like, it was all about her music and her videos, and like not just about Wicked, which is the current thing that Ariana is being celebrated for, which deserves to be celebrated for. But we have to remember she is also a pop star, and like seeing her be celebrated for her music, and just, it was a great year for Ariana Grande. And of course, Wicked being the way to end it was just so monumental. Wicked as a whole this year was just like, come on, we're going to look back on 2024 and 2025, and like truly the first things we're going to think of is Pink and Green, because Wicked really did dominate these last 2 years. It got the biggest opening weekend for a Broadway adaptation at the box office in history. The Wicked One Wonderful Night that they did, all of the promo, all the press, just everything about Wicked, and like now obviously saying goodbye to this era of the movie or whatever, but like just looking at the last year that we had for Wicked was so incredible. And like, what a beautifully done press tour. And everybody has their thoughts on how Ariana and Cynthia acted, but like, just looking at it as a whole, it was so monumental, and it is definitely such a huge stamp on what 2024, 2025 are all about. And then just looking at the rest of the cast, I mean, Cynthia Erivo, she released an album. She performed in Jesus Christ Superstar at the Hollywood Bowl. She released a book. She's getting ready to go do Dracula as a one-woman show on the West End. Like, Cynthia Erivo had a standout year for so many reasons. Jonathan Bailey, Sexiest Man Alive. I know that's right. He was also in Jurassic Park. He's like the most paid actor of 2025. This cast, this movie, everything about Wicked really did just like have its grip on 2025. And you know what? I wouldn't want it any other way. And I mean, how can I end up talking about Wicked without talking about Michelle Yeoh's Madame Morrible, Flip It Around, Wicked Witch, just so much. There was so much fruit that came from the Wicked tree, and I am still eating it all up. I'm so happy to be alive at the time of the Wicked movie, because it finally fucking came out. It took long enough to make it, and I'm so happy that we have it to look back on forever now. Speaking of movies that kind of were like everywhere this year, Sinners, my favorite movie that I saw in 2025. This movie really took the world by storm for so many incredible reasons. I mean, Michael B. Jordan's acting in it was unbelievable, and we got two of him, which is just, what more could you ask for? The music in it, the entire cast, the cinematography, the way that they did it they did one in like true film, they did it in IMAX. There were so many different ways to see this movie. Everything about this movie was perfection, and I feel like it really had a chokehold on the culture for a little bit, as it deserved to be. It was truly an incredible movie, and if you have not seen it yet, you are missing out. It is truly perfection from start to finish, and one of the first movies we've had in years that is truly an original concept. You know, you don't really know where the movie is going to go. It kind of takes you on a few different journeys, but at its core, it's truly an original concept, a new movie, something we haven't seen before. It's not a remake or an adaptation, which I love, and there's space for everything, but it is nice. And, you know, we get a breath of fresh air when we do get a completely new movie, concept, score, everything coming to the big screen. And Sinners was just, it was everything that I needed and more. I cannot say enough good things about this movie. Moving on to the next moment of the year that was just too pop to handle, the Met Gala. Honestly, I'm just going to say it. It was the best Met Gala that we have had in years. The super fine tailoring black fashion, the dandyism, everything about it. Everybody looked incredible. It was fabulous. I could not get enough of the Met Gala looks this year. And on the topic of the Met Gala, of course, it was also the year that we saw Anna Wintour step down, but kind of like step up from Vogue, from her editor-in-chief title. Of course, she's not going anywhere, but just seeing her kind of give up that title after so many years was such a huge moment in culture. And I think it's really going to show us a new side of Vogue, and I'm excited to see where they take, you know, I mean, she's always going to be a chair of the Met Gala. Like, they're going to bury her at the Met, I feel like, because she's never going to give that up. But like, knowing that she is letting Vogue kind of go into this next phase and she's going to focus on some other things, it was a culture shifting moment for sure. And I'm excited to see like how this kind of ties into the Met Gala going forward, and just Vogue as a publication going forward. Very big year in that sense. And of course, I mean, this year's Met Gala, we have Beyonce, Venus Williams, Nicole Kidman. Like, it's going to be a huge Met Gala this year, and I am so excited to see how Anna, if she does anything differently, or how Vogue approaches it differently with this new editor-in-chief and everything. Just a very, you know, I've got a lot of eyes on the Beyonce. I mean, take the Beyonce of it all out of it. I was already very excited for the Met Gala to see this like new era of Vogue, but like then you add Beyonce and all these people into it. I'm like, oh, it's going to be 2026 going to be one for the books, but 2025 Met Gala is going to be hard to beat. 2025 was also the year that Taylor Swift bought her masters back, which just felt like a huge celebration for so many people. Like, it was so exciting to find out that like we can go back and listen to the original Taylor Swift albums. We don't have to listen to the Taylor versions anymore. We don't have to wait and clown for Reputation or Debut anymore. Like, we can just let it be, enjoy the old songs like that we all know and love. And like, honestly, in my book, at least, the original versions are all much better than the Taylor's versions, but like, that's not what I'm here to discuss. I love the original album so much, and like knowing that like Taylor owns them in all of her music videos, it just kind of kicked off this next chapter for Taylor. And just diving into that chapter, what a chapter it was for Taylor in 2025. I really didn't think we were going to get much from her this year. Like, I really thought she was going to just kind of like let the Eras tour end, go on a break, live her little la-di-da life with Travis as she deserved after working her ass off for a year and change on the Eras tour. Girl, she cannot take a break if it saved her life. I mean, just going on New Heights alone was such a huge headline, because like, what do you mean Taylor Swift was going to sit down with Travis and Jason and just yap for an hour plus? I think it ended up being like 2 hours, but that's besides the point. Like, the fact that she went on New Heights and was like doing this different style interview that she never does was such a huge moment, let alone her announcing the life of a showgirl on the podcast, which is also crazy, because like, when did you have time to record an album while you were on the Eras tour? Oh, then we find out she's flying to Sweden to like go record this album in between shows and like finding the time to do it, which is also just insane. Then the entire world explodes because Taylor Swift and Travis Kelce are engaged. And like, that was probably the biggest pop culture moment of the entire year, honestly. Like, whether you were a fan of Taylor or not, like, that was inescapable news. It was everywhere. And it was just like, I remember exactly where I was when the news broke, and like calling Delaney to tell her, and my phone just started exploding. All of my group chats, we were all talking about it. It was everywhere. And it was an exciting moment, because all eyes had been on Taylor and Travis for the last year and change of their relationship, between her showing up at the first game and going on the field at the Super Bowl, him showing up to the shows and then like going on stage with her in London, and them being, you know, out and about and doing their thing. Like, it was just like all eyes were on the two of them. And it felt like so many people were cheering for them while so many people were like preying on their downfall. So seeing them take this next step of their relationship and just like seeing Taylor get this like fairy tale ending that she has always like wrote about and hoped for, and like it was such just like out of left field, not to make a football joke, but like an out of left field person in her life. It was just such a celebratory moment of the year, I feel like, for just pop culture in general. And then, as if it couldn't get any more exciting, she goes on and releases The Life of the Showgirl. She smashes every single record you could possibly do. And I can't even list out all the records that she broke with this album, because it outsold Adele's album and the streams and the sales and all the songs and then the movie. And it was just like, she really was just like, I truly expected 2025 to be like reputation level hiding for Taylor. Like, I didn't think we would hear from her that much. I thought we would see her like at a football game, maybe like out to dinner with the girls here and there. But like, in terms of like music and making big news, I did not think she was going to do much this year. And I was fine either way. I was like, honestly, like, if she needs a year to just like go exist as a human being after being on the biggest tour in the history of touring ever, like, please go away for a little while. You deserve it. But on the other hand, like, I'm never going to be mad about Taylor Swift like giving us news to talk about and music and things like that. Like, you know, it was like I was fine either way. And God, did she deliver this year. Like, she really was giving us things left and right. And then we ended the year with the End of the Eras documentary, which I feel like really puts a final lock on the Eras tour. And like, now we can truly move forward into like whatever is next, and like just whatever that may be, whether it is her and Travis getting married and like starting a family and she goes away for a little while, or like whatever it may be. I feel like the End of the Eras documentary was literally, as it's titled, the end of an era. And now we can kind of like push forward into like her putting that behind her and like starting this next era of her life. I feel like using era is so cliche for Taylor, because like that is what an era is, but like it feels more pointed, you know, when I use it for Taylor. But what a fucking year for Taylor Swift. Fucking insane. Another diva who kind of came into left field with a music release when I was not expecting it was Sabrina Carpenter, with Man's Best Friend. She was still on the Short and Sweet tour. She like extended it, and she was making so many waves and news with this tour. I mean, with arresting people and, you know, making news in that, and just being Sabrina Carpenter, making news everywhere. I mean, people were mad about this, mad about that. She really is, I always say, at the textbook definition of a pop star, because she knows how to get the people talking. And then she goes ahead and releases Man-Child, and then announces an entire new album, which again, I don't think any of us saw coming for Sabrina in 2025, but like I was saying earlier, some people want to marinate in their albums for a little bit longer. Doechii, Chapel, Charlie. Some people want to just keep it pushing and like keep things hot, which I think both are very fair tactics. And like, you know, the cookie crumbles differently for everybody. So seeing Sabrina and Taylor kind of just like continue to release and like ride the wave that way, do what you got to do, you know, different strokes for different folks, as I will. But I mean, Man-Child became her first number one. Man's Best Friend had the biggest opening week for any female album at the time in 2025. Of course, Taylor did come in and sweep that away from her, but like, that's going to happen with any Taylor Swift album. But like, Sabrina had a knockout year when you just look at it at a glance. Like the VMA performance, the Grammys performance, like I said, she won the Grammys. Like she had a killer year, and I am very curious to see like what she does next. And I know she's going on to some movie projects and things like that. So I'm curious, like when we get another album from her. I feel like she does need to take a breather. Maybe, I don't know, maybe she doesn't want to. Who am I to say? But I am curious to see how Sabrina kind of tackles post Short and Sweet tour, post Man-Child album, and goes into this next era. But whatever it is, sign me up. I am on board with that Polly Pocket-sized diva. Something else I am so on board with was overcompensating this year. I feel like that was a really big push for the culture this year. Like I feel like people were talking about it online a lot. It was so exciting to see Benny Drama have this moment after being like an internet star. He really crossed that threshold from like YouTube, TikTok person into the mainstream, which is a very hard thing to do. And he did it very seamlessly. It seemed like the show was literally about his experience, and it touched so many people. It was so stupid and silly, but like did touch on moments that like a lot of us can relate to. And I feel like overcompensating was a huge moment just for pop culture and the internet this entire year. So there's no list that I talk about 2025 without that show. Another show that made crazy waves in 2025 with The Secret Lives of Mormon Wives. I mean, thinking about the fact that that show debuted in the September of 2024 and the news and the wave that it has continued to make since then is so crazy. And I mean, we got 2 seasons this year, I believe it was. Like, they are working those girls to the bone. And then, of course, we had like Whitney and Jen go on Dancing with the Stars, which we'll get to that in a second, but like we had them go on the show. We had Taylor as the Bachelorette. We had Whitney getting announced for Broadway. Like there were just so many things that happened with these Mormon Wives. They were seriously like, they stole a lot of 2025. And just circling back really quick to Dancing with the Stars, I feel like this season of Dancing with the Stars, it reached a new level of coverage and excitement, and like the way people were talking about it, it was like a different level of excitement for Dancing with the Stars. And for a show that's been on, I think this was season 34 or 35, like seeing it have the success that it did this year was so insane. And like what I was saying earlier, with like Dylan Efron being America's sweetheart and on The Traitors, like him getting cast, it was incredible casting. Alex Earl, genius casting. I mean, they had so many good people on this show just for the casting element, like not even like talent wise, like looking at the people that they got for this season, and it just created this camaraderie that like could not be replicated. It was such a huge moment of 2025. Now this next moment, if I did not mention this in my 2025 recap, it would not be true Andrew Nucatola 2 Pop to Handle fashion. Freakier fucking Friday. If you have been with me since day one on this podcast, if you know me outside of this podcast, you know I have been campaigning, or I was campaigning, for a Freaky Friday sequel for years. And the fact that we got this movie this year finally, not only did we get the movie, Disney sent me PR for this. I went to the New York City premiere. Freakier Friday was the first thing I put on my 2025 vision board because I was like, I know the movie is coming out. I need to be at any event possible. And I had so many incredible opportunities around Freakier Friday this year. And I am so thankful for all of them. Like looking back at this year and knowing that I went to the Freakier Friday premiere, Disney sent me PR. I went to a bunch of other events that were like Disney adjacent. Like it was just such a huge moment for me personally, just because I was so excited for this sequel, but also like everybody loved it. Honestly, like it was one of the highest grossing comedies at the box office domestically. Like people were loving this movie. And I just feel like people really loved this sequel. And I feel like they did a perfect job with it. And it was a moment for me. It was a moment for the culture. It was a moment for Lindsay Lohan, which I will always celebrate. Anything that celebrates Lindsay Lohan. I could not talk about 2025 and not mention Freakier Friday at some length. Like it was such a moment of this year. And I am still like pinching myself at the opportunities that I was given for this movie. It is incredible. Another movie that just like dominated the world this year was K-pop Demon Hunters. I feel like they took the world by storm. And I'm like, what else are they going to do? Like they are truly just on this up and up and up still. And like, I know there's a sequel that they're going to work on and they scrapped the live action, I believe, but like the cast, the voice actor, they've been doing like award show like, you know, they've been everywhere, and like they're nominated for Grammys and nominated for Emmys. Like they are definitely going to have a huge 2026. And like just looking at 2025 and like the way that movie really did just like shift the culture, it was unbelievable. Another thing that really was like a big culture shift this year was Cat's Eye. They had their really big breakthrough, I feel like, in 2025 between Gnarly and the Gap ad. They really did push through into the mainstream this year, and they were such a driving force of 2025, and I'm very excited to see what they do in 2026 to keep that momentum going. Another huge moment of 2025 was the Jonas Brothers tour and all of the guests that they brought out, specifically Demi Lovato. I feel like that was really the big one of the year that like people were shook over, and I'm still so happy that I was in the audience to watch that happen. But just in general, all the guests that the Jonas Brothers brought out this year, it always made news which was really cool and exciting to see, like them doing their 20th anniversary tour and making it special every night with these different guests. I mean, they brought out Fifth Harmony, they brought out 5 Seconds of Summer. I just saw them last week and they brought out like Nora Jones and Somber, and like they're just bringing out all of these people and just doing really cool surprises. And I just feel like kicking off the tour with Demi Lovato, like that was such an insane moment, not just for Jonas Brother fans, but like just like pop culture in general, because it was this like moment that we all shared. You know, we all grew up with Camp Rock and Demi and the Jonas Brothers, and there's so much beef, or there was so much beef there, and now seeing them like come together on that stage, being in the room for that, like the decibel in which that room hit, just because of how excited everybody was and how loud the screams were unbelievable. And I just feel like they had a really good 20th anniversary run. Those Jonas Brothers. And then some other things this year that I just could not get enough of. Zara Larsson, I feel like she just had an incredible run with Midnight Sun. She really did a good job, her and her team, at like capitalizing on a meme and running with it and giving her this like Lisa Frank aesthetic. And I just feel like it was exactly what she needed to catapult her even further into her career. Killer year for Zara Larsson. I also asked on my Instagram story what moments of the year you guys wanted me to talk about. This was already on my list, but I got 5 people who sent in saying Hilary Duff's return to music, which obviously that was already on my list to talk about because it was such an exciting moment seeing her sign to Atlantic and find out we're getting this documentary and then releasing her single and the excitement from her tour and everything. Like it was just such a huge moment. There's no world where we don't look back at 2025 and we're like, wow, Hilary Duff like made her comeback this year, which is so exciting. And then most recently, there's 2 things on this list that really by the skin of their teeth made it into my yes list of 2025, but they are moments of this year that are so huge and monumental. The first one being Heated Rivalry. I mean, this show has taken over the culture in a way that we have not seen in years. It has fully infiltrated the culture to a sense where like every day I open my phone and I see Connor Story and Hudson Williams in a new editorial photo shoot or a new interview, or they're releasing a new erotica audiobook. Like the way in which Heated Rivalry has penetrated so many of our brains is so wild. And it really came in at the last possible second to just like really give us the cherry on top of 2025. And I am so thankful for it. I'm so thankful we're getting season 2. I just read that they signed on for season 3. Like we have some more mileage with these boys. And I, for one, will take all the miles I can get with this story. I cannot believe the way in which Heated Rivalry fully just infiltrated all of us at the end of this year and like truly took over in a way that like isn't easy to do for a 6-episode series. Like it's not an easy feat. 6 episodes is not a lot. And like, you need to do a lot of character development and a lot of hooking. I mean, the butts and the gay sex definitely helped like hook all of us a little bit faster, but like they did a very good job with the pacing of these 6 episodes. And like, they knocked it out of the park with Heated Rivalry. And it is a huge pillar of the pop culture moments that make 2025. And then this one just happened a few days ago. Not too much news on it, but I feel like it's really going to really like put the bow on top of pop culture things in 2025 and is setting 2026 up for a very exciting year. Harry Styles is teasing some type of return. He posted an 8-minute and 30-second video or 8-minute plus video on his YouTube the other day. And at the end of it, it says, "We belong together." The entire video is a montage from his final night of Love on Tour. And he plays this special like piano moment for the fans. And we've been waiting for a Harry album for quite some time now. I want to say it's been like 3 or 4 years. So I thought it was coming this year. It's one of the only albums on my 2025 list of albums I was looking forward to that didn't come out. I think it was just him and Chapel, who I didn't end up getting an album from. But Harry Styles shows a sign of life on the internet, and I will take whatever I can get. I think it's going to be a very big year for Harry in 2026, and I cannot wait. And that wraps up all of my yeses from 2025. But of course, there are a lot of things that I did not cover in my list because they in fact fall under my mess list. So without further ado, let's dive into my messes from 2025. And I want to start this list off by saying everything and anything tied to Donald Trump, the Epstein files, the ICE raids, the tariffs, anything tied to our current administration can be assumed to be on this list. Like there is Charlie Kirk, Erica Kirk, anything somewhat related to Donald Trump and his puppets and all of that nonsense in which they put our country through in less than a year is the biggest mess of the year, really. Like, obviously, I'm not going to go through and talk about every single thing that Donald Trump did this year that made him a fucking disaster, because I could go on for hours. But I just wanted to like set the precedent there to make sure you guys know that like, obviously anything tied to our government this year and the fucking shit show that this man has turned our country into in the last 11 months. It is disgusting and it breaks my heart. And, you know, this was a very tough year for a lot of reasons, for families being ripped apart, for the price of everything going up, for people losing their rights, and for just so many terrible things to happen. You know, a lot of these things on this list obviously aren't that serious. You know, we're going to talk about Labubu's and we're going to talk about the TikTok ban and things like that. But like, I just wanted to set the precedent and make sure you guys know that like, you know, anything related to our current administration is an automatic mess. And I just... what a fucking year. Kind of piggybacking off of that, though, one of the biggest messes I think this year is the cancellation of Colbert and the temporary pause of Jimmy Kimmel because of them speaking their mind and like just literally watching our government fully take away our freedom of speech and our right to say what we want. And just because they're protesting against things that our government is doing, they get the boot. And like, yes, Kimmel is back on air, sure, but like Stephen Colbert is not coming back on air. He is done after this season, and it is a direct domino effect to our administration. Oh my God. Moving forward, anything related to AI. AI, unfortunately, took over 2025, and everyone using ChatGPT to make a grocery list, everybody using AI to Photoshop, or not even Photoshop, AI to generate a photo of them and Miley Cyrus, or the new trend is like walking around a TV show set of yourself AI, taking pictures with all the people. Absolute fucking mess. I want nothing to do with AI. I want nothing to do with any of it. And I think anybody who is using AI in a way that is just for like, haha, silly funsies, get a fucking grip. Get a fucking grip. The next mess on my list was the TikTok ban. And yes, the TikTok ban was this year. It feels insane that like that was less than a year ago. Like, remember that little message that popped up on our screens and it was like, we're sorry, TikTok is currently unavailable, and you read whatever it was. Like, that was such a crazy 24 hours and like such a crazy welcome from Trump into the administration. I mean, I don't know what's going on with the TikTok ban anymore. I did follow it very closely up until a few months ago. And then I was like, you know what? Whatever fucking happens. I can't spend time worrying about a social media app going away. Like, it is what it is. But that whole, everything around that was just seemed so staged and seemed like just an opportunity for Trump to just like swoop in and be the hero or whatever. Like, just, what a mess. Another mess on this list that is very devastating were the LA fires. That was such a heartbreaking time to watch. And as somebody who is on the other side of the country, just seeing my friends have to evacuate their homes and people lose everything. And it was just such a devastating moment. There was such a sense of community, I feel like, in the country where people were donating and we were all just kind of like raising awareness for it. And just all of that and the destruction that it caused was such an awful way to kick off 2025. And like, it just breaks my heart that like so many people lost so many things. And it really was, I remember I had a whole episode where I think I titled it, "Can we put 2025 in rice?" Because I was like, the TikTok ban, the LA fires, Donald Trump, like what the fuck went on in January of this year? It was a rocky road for sure. But yeah, I mean, the LA fires were just a horrible way to really kick off 2025. It was truly devastating. Another mess of 2025 was everything that went on with Carla Sofia Gascon. If you remember that, I feel like I said that name every fucking week on this podcast because every other day something terrible about her was coming out, and they had the Oscar campaign and everything going on, and it was just a fucking disaster. Another disaster of this year was the Justin Bieber Scooter Braun drama, where like he apparently owed Scooter all these millions of dollars, and there was all this unpaid debt that Scooter was coming up front about, and it was just such a weird situation. And then we saw Haley sell Rhode for $1 billion, which again, I don't think that had anything to do with Justin owing him money, but it was just like weird timing for all of that to happen. But that was a disaster, as was the Justin Bieber impersonator in Vegas. If you guys remember that story, I like, again, going through my list and being like, that was this year. I was like, what the fuck? But the impersonator who showed up at a Vegas club charged a fee to like a booking fee to perform, and then like fully went on stage as Justin Bieber. Like the amount of people that had to see this person walk through the backstage area and like nobody clocked that it wasn't Justin. That was wild. Another wild moment of this year was Morgan Wallen, Get Me to God's Country, as he exited SNL during the final goodbye while they're all waving to the camera, and he just walks off and then posts his plane saying, Get Me to God's Country. Wild moment for this year. I feel like another one where I'm like, how the fuck was that in 2025? But that was just another testament as to why he is a terrible person. And on the topic of Morgan Wallen, the whole collab between him and Tate McRae, absolutely not. Not what I wanted from Tate McRae in 2025 at all. And don't get me wrong, she gave us a lot of really great things in 2025. I mean, Sports Car was great. I thought her tour was great. Her VMA performance was great. But like the Morgan Wallen collab really put a sour taste in a lot of people's mouths. And she did come out and say like, I've never even met the man. Like it was just a collab for an opportunity that came up, and like, that's fine. Get your bag. But like, maybe don't get your bag with Morgan Wallen, who has just proven himself to be a piece of total shit time and time again. Absolute mess from 2025. Another person who just could not escape being a mess in 2025 was Sydney Sweeney. I just feel like she just kept doing the wrong thing. Maybe to her it wasn't the wrong thing because she doesn't feel bad for any of the things, but like she was just constantly in the news, not in the best light. I mean, she called off her engagement and then she shows up at Glenn Powell's sister's wedding, which that was all drama from like 2 years ago to begin with. And that really kicked off the year being like, why are you at this wedding? What is going on? Like, were you there as a date? Were you there as a friend? That was a whole thing. We all remember the American Eagle ad was a fucking disaster. And now she's allegedly dating Scooter Braun. Like just a lot of unfavorable things in the realm of Sydney Sweeney this year, which lands her on my mess list for 2025. Another moment of 2025 that I'm categorizing as a mess is Katy Perry and Gayle King going to space. Another moment also where I'm like, how the hell was that this year? I feel like that happened decades ago, but sure enough, that was in 2025. Just rich people doing unnecessary rich people things. I don't understand what the point of it was, why they needed to do this. Why did Katy Perry need to sing What a Wonderful World in Space? The picture of her with the daisy, kissing the ground when she got off. It was just so unnecessary. And it just, I still cannot believe that was like part of the 2025 timeline, because it's just like, why did we do that? It was so unnecessary. On the topic of Jeff Bezos, I also think him and Lauren Sanchez's wedding was a complete mess. I mean, I'm sure it was a fabulous event to be at, but why, like, it cost between $46 and $55 million. That is so much money to spend on a wedding. And like, her dress wasn't even pretty. The rehearsal dinner, she was wearing a corset. Like all the discourse around the wedding and who was there and what was going on. Another example of rich people spending their money in a stupid way. And it blows my mind that we are living in a world where so many people are struggling to pay their bills and like put food on their table. And yet Jeff Bezos can spend $55 million on a wedding. It's just, we live in the craziest fucking timeline ever, I want to say. Like, it is just very fucking wild. Another fucking wild timeline of this year was JoJo Siwa and Chris Hughes on Big Brother. Just the whole situation was a mess. JoJo going on the show and then like being all over each other, and then JoJo breaking up with her girlfriend at the finale party, and then JoJo coming out and announcing that her and Chris are dating after she like branded herself as being this like lesbian and like huge part of the LGBT community. And of course, like, there is no bi erasure on this show. Of course, yes, she can be bisexual, but like JoJo Siwa went like Ellen DeGeneres levels with her being a lesbian in like 2024. So for her to now be dating a man in 2025, very just messy behavior. I don't know. It was like all over the place. Also, her cover of Betty Davis Eyes, let me not even get into it. It was a fucking mess. And I'm so glad that like it was short-lived on TikTok, but honestly wasn't short-lived enough, because I was seeing that audio on my For You page for a little too long. And I was like, we need to get this girl off of my For You page, because I cannot deal with it. Some other things that are very closely tied to TikTok that I needed off my For You page this year. Some of you might get mad at me, and you know what? I'm willing to take the backlash. I'm categorizing Labubus as a mess in 2025. I think anything that becomes a point of consumerism where people are like camping outside, are going crazy to get it, or people are reselling it for crazy amounts, like it like adds to excessive collecting, and like it's just an absolute mess. And the way in which Labubus entered the mainstream this year should have never happened. Like, I'm happy if it makes you happy. I don't think the people buying them are, I mean, I guess they're fueling the problem, but just like the whole culture around Labubus this year, and like the blind boxes and everything, it was a lot. And like the way that Labubus really dominated the culture this year, I'm giving it a mess. I want nothing to do with it. I'm sorry. I'm not hating on you if you have a Labubu. I get it. It's fine. Sure, you think it's cute. I don't think it's cute. I think it's unnecessary, but like, call me a hater. I don't really give a fuck. Something else I hated this year was the 6'7" trend. Unnecessary. Why are we disrupting classrooms? Why are these kids doing these things? Just why? And then the chicken jockey trend, if you guys remember, I talked about this. This was my mess. I don't even know when, but when the Minecraft movie came out and those kids were going into the Minecraft movie and setting off fireworks, bringing live chickens, throwing popcorn around the room, the chicken jockey trend during the Minecraft movie was fucking insane. And like the fact that they were pausing the movie right before that scene and setting security in so they could be like, all right, if anybody does anything, you're getting arrested. We have police outside. Like, it should have never gotten that far. And like, we need to stop letting our kids brain rot themselves on TikTok and saying 6'7" and buying Labubus, and maybe teach them how to act. Anyway, moving right along, another mess from this year, and this might come to a surprise from you guys because I did enjoy it as I was watching it, but looking back at it now, Love Island Season 7, kind of a mess. Like, none of the couples are together besides Nick and Olandria. They had two people get kicked off the show while filming because they were racist. They had Huda, who then ended up laughing at the N-word on live and like getting dropped from all of her brand deals. It was fun while it was on. And like, I am happy to see Nick Olandria thriving. And I just wrote about them in my newsletter and stuff. And like, I am happy for them, but like, it wasn't the way that the producers went about Love Island Season 7 was so wrong. They were like chasing a viral moment like they had on Season 6. And I think as a whole, as a collective, Love Island Season 7, it was a mess. I'm going to say it. On the topic of Love Island and other messes, though Love Island Season 6 was so fabulous and such a huge moment in culture, Kenny and Janae's breakup this year was such a mess. Finding out all the shit that Kenny had said about Janae behind her back and like it happening at a party and the way that everyone was like airing each other out. Like, that was crazy watching it in real time. Like, watching everybody post their stories about Kenny in real time and like doubling down on like, he said this, he did this. Like, it was so crazy to watch it unfold. And like, even watching it unfold on Love Island Beyond the Villa and like how the producers chose to show it on TV, almost like still protecting Kenny. That was a mess. Everything around it was an absolute mess. And like, Janae is totally fine without him. Like, she's going to go on and do incredible things, but that whole breakup was a fucking disaster. Another disaster was the outcome of the Diddy trial and the fact that he's not going to be locked in jail for life. Like, I think his sentence was far undersold, and he shouldn't even have an option to be out. And what did he get? Like 20 something years? Like, the things that they have on this man and the fact that they were able to like find him not guilty on so many counts, fucking insane. I cannot believe in 2025, we are like living in a world where Diddy isn't guilty for every single thing that he was charged for and brought to court for the entire thing, because the things that they found in his house and everything is just like, How is this our justice system? It is insane. The next mess of 2025 was she just keeps digging herself deeper and deeper and deeper and deeper, and it is no other than Nicki Minaj. Now, I have had my fair share of waves with Nicki on this podcast, and now, if you don't know, I was a huge Barb growing up. Like, back in the mixtape days, I say it all the time, I loved Nicki Minaj so much. And over the last year or so, she has made some choices that made me not love her so much. But I am officially out, and I've been out for a while, but like, now the nail is so hardly bashed into that coffin that there is no getting the nail out of it after what she did with Erica Kirk. But just like looking at her actions this entire year, fighting with SZA, fighting with Cardi B. Oh my God, wait. pivoting back to my yes really quick, Cardi B's entire court case situation, absolute mess. I don't know how I missed that on my outline. Cardi B's entire, what she wore to court, what she was saying in court, all the memes she made about it was a highlight of 2025. And I cannot believe I did not include that in my outline. My apologies there. That being said, Nicki Minaj, fucking mess. Everything she did this year just seemed so evil spirited. And ever since everything that happened with Megan Thee Stallion last year, she really has just continued to kick herself over and over and over and over. And going on stage with Erica Kirk, are you fucking crazy? Are you fucking insane? Because it takes a different type of evil to get a woman to do that and go on stage. There are no words to describe how disappointing it is to see what has come of Nicki Minaj over the last few years. And I don't understand how people are still supporting her. I really do not. It is fucking crazy. The next mess of 2025 is the Coldplay couple. Now, don't get me wrong. I loved this week on the internet. It was so funny watching the memes and all the news come out about it. And the moment itself was honestly incredible. The fact that if they would have just stayed on that screen, put and not reacted, nobody would have ever found out about this. But they both reacted so guilty that it was obvious something was going on between the two of them that should not have been going on. They fully shot themselves in the foot with that one. But the mess of it, at its core, it was, it broke up a family, and it was, somebody cheating on somebody, which obviously we're not gonna go ahead and applaud somebody for doing. But the moment itself, I loved the week on the internet, but it does feel wrong to classify that as a yes because, at its core, it wasn't right what they were doing, but it was a fucking fun week on the internet, I will say. But ultimately, it was a mess. Another mess from 2025, we're getting down to the final few. Lil Nas X and that whole situation. Now, the situation that he was in, not the mess I'm talking about. He was clearly struggling. He was going through it. He needed some help. The way that people reacted to it and people were sharing these videos and saying, oh, it's a marketing ploy and he's doing it for PR and as part of an album rollout. It was just the first video was, okay, sure, maybe, but as more came out and more things started happening and whatever, the way that people were fully he's joking, it's whatever. It's no, he was clearly in distress. And there was clearly some shit going on that he needed to deal with. And the fact that people weren't taking it seriously, that is the mess in which I'm putting it on this list. That part of it is what the mess of 2025 was. And then the final two messes of 2025, the Louvre robbery. How the fuck did these people get into the Louvre and steal all of this jewelry without getting caught? I still don't understand. It's fucking insane. And the final mess of 2025, a man that I will continue to talk shit about for the rest of my life until my last breath, Kevin Federline releasing his memoir. The fact that this man was paid multiple thousands of dollars, tens of thousands of dollars by Britney Spears for years in child support and everything else with their divorce and everything. And the year that all ends, he decides to release this memoir, basically trashing Britney Spears as a mom, as a wife, as a human, and just fully using her name to sell books to make more money because now he's not making any money off of Britney Spears. He is an evil, spirited human being, and I will never in my life will I say a good thing about Kevin Federline because he doesn't deserve it. He is a terrible human being. And seeing him release that memoir, I mean, it flopped. It did not sell at all, which thank God because he doesn't deserve it. But just the fact that he would go so low as disrespecting the mother of his children and the bank that was fueling his life for the last few years is just so wild to me. And you guys know, Justin Timberlake, Kevin Federline, I will always find a way to talk shit about them on this podcast. And this time, Kevin Federline is catching the strays. And that is 2025 Pop Culture Year in Review. We did it another year, you guys. We made it. I cannot believe we are ending the year and going into a new one. I say it every single week, but seriously, thank you guys so much for listening to this week's episode, to last week's episode, to any episode of Too Pop to Handle this year. This was such a huge year for me. Personally, professionally, with the podcast, just I had a very transformative 2025 and there was a lot that happened this year that I couldn't control and it just was I had to figure shit out and having the podcast every week to just like sit down and turn my brain off and just yap about pop culture and have you guys listen and send me DMs or comments or whatever it is, or supporting my newsletter, supporting my TikTok, whatever it is. Like, you guys seriously were such a huge part in keeping me sane in 2025. And I am so appreciative of every single person who listens to this show, who watches this show, who reads my newsletter, who supports me in any way. Thank you so much for making 2025 such a standout year. I have a lot of really fun ideas for 2026 that I am so excited to start rolling out and to just start giving you guys more content and, perfecting my content more and like trying new things. And this year really showed me that I can do this and I am capable of, finding my voice on the internet. And, there's a lot of imposter syndrome that comes with creating content because everybody seems to be a content creator, which there is space for everybody, but it can be, you can think like, oh, why bother? Like, who's going to listen to me? Who wants to hear what I have to say? But seeing you guys listen every week, hearing from you guys, following me on TikTok, writing in from like whatever it is, like means the world to me. And I am so excited to just like take the podcast to a whole nother level in 2026, take my Substack, take my TikTok, take all of my socials, just everything to just like skyrocket in 2026. It's going to be our year. I am so excited. Like I said, if you're listening to this on the day of release, happy New Year's Eve, happy New Year. If you're listening to this in 2026, I cannot wait to see what pop culture nonsense we get into in 2026. As always, if you liked what you listened to this week, make sure you go ahead and leave me a 5-star rating. It is the best way to help support the show. If you want more pop culture moments of the week that were too pop to handle, you can always follow me on Substack at toopoptohandle.substack.com. I will have it linked in the description. You can also follow me on all of my socials at toopoptohandle or on my personals at Andrew Nucatola. I am always sharing an opinion, always yapping, always posting, always doing something. So there's a lot of content to consume. And, if you are looking for some content to dive into, I have a plethora of it. With all of that being said, have a very happy new year, and I will catch you guys in 2026. Bye.